Of all the crimes committed in The Social Network, hacking, betrayal, defamation, somehow the chicken got it worst. In today's video, we're going to look at David Fincher's razor-sharp masterpiece, The Social Network. We're not here to talk about Zuckerberg's hoodie phase or wherever the Winklevoss twins got mugged. We've come for the real wizardry that made this film work. The editing. The invisible craft that turns legal meetings and university parties into cinematic gold. We'll break down how editors Kirk, Baxter and Angus sculpted time, tension and emotion to create rhythm, precision and control. Here is my take. This film is a masterclass in rhythm and restraint. Fincher shot 268 hours of footage. Blimey. And the editors, Kirk, Baxter and Angus Wool's job was to distill all that into a film that played like music. Precise, deliberate, and emotionally charged.
From take to take to take to take, it doesn't look any different.
So when all the dailies come in, it's kind of like it lands like a plate of spaghetti, and you're like, what?
And then you start to really look at the minute sections of each take and you compare them against one another. And you start to see that there are little tiny subtle gems of performance which rise to the top.
Do you see any of your code on Facebook? Do you see any of your code on Facebook? Do you see any of your code on Facebook?
And Fincher didn't want to waste that footage. He would stitch together multiple takes for one line, one expression, or one moment.
David might choose a take visually that he liked, but then he'd want to choose a different audio take and match that. And then within the audio take, he'd want to choose different words that he felt were the best performances. So a lot of the performance that you hear is, there, of course, it's the actors, but stitched together from different dialogue reads.
He's going to make sure he's got a great performance in every angle he's got. So editing is always completely open with where you can make the choices of where the film needs to be.
It's seamless precision masquerading as naturalism. Honestly, picking one scene to break down from The Social Network is like picking a favorite song. It's impossible because the film is, frankly, perfect. The scenes weave so tightly together that I can't isolate them without losing context. They have to be broken down as a sequence. Each one is a masterclass in storytelling. For today, we'll be focusing on the Crimson Chicken sequence. It's witty, brutal, and perfectly cut to balance tension and humour. So strap in everybody, it's going to be a long one. And let's break it down, cut by cut.
I'm going to enter this into the record, incorporation papers for Facebook and LLC registered in Florida.
Alright, so in the first shot, we are in the deposition. We have a single shot on Gretchen, Eduardo's lawyer, and that's because she's taking charge of the conversation. She's clarifying the facts, laying the groundwork for what's to come.
Why Florida?
It's where my family lives.
And then we pull back to a wider shot with Eduardo in the foreground. It's nice and neat. The angle is exactly the same. He's turned away from the conversation. He's not here to win. He just wants to say his piece. So we use the same angle to show the opposing counsel. It's interesting because instead of Mark being in focus, it's actually his lawyer, Cy. He's the one dominating the frame. Mark is just an afterthought. He's just nodding off in the background. His physical distance from the camera, it mirrors his emotional detachment from the entire ordeal.
Have you ever done anything that might be considered legitimate grounds for termination?
No.
You never did anything to embarrass the company or even...
It's interesting that we get a single shot on Marilyn with the, I believe that's the stenographer in the foreground. I guess it's to show the incriminating evidence that is about to come in Eduardo's way.
No.
No?
No.
Alright, so the scene shifts as we go on to Over the Shoulder. We are looking at Cy and Eduardo head on. It's a more intimate, almost claustrophobic form of exchange. This is not a conversation anymore, it's a psychological battle. And then we go back to the three shot because we're seeing Mark trying to get Cy's attention, probably trying to soften the blow, but he's completely ignored. This framing is to emphasize his isolation from his own team.
This is not happening.
I have here an article from the Crimson.
Jesus Christ.
I can't have this.
All right, and then we get that Fincher trademark, audio bleeding from one timeline into another. You can hear Eduardo's comment morph into the next scene. This is known as an L cut, where audio runs over the next image, and then the other way around is known as a J cut. And starting the flashback off with a close-up of Mark, it creates intrigue. We are plunged into the past in the middle of a conversation. We have no idea what's going on.
I can't have this,
Oh,
Wardo.
come on, man. This is bullshit.
So here's where framing becomes a character in itself. As you can see, Mark is slightly obscuring the frame and Eduardo is further away. He looks small and cornered on that mattress. This is to represent the growing rift and power imbalance between the two. Throughout most of the scene, Mark's framing has been consistent. It's always a medium close-up. It's to show that he is stable and sure, while Eduardo's framing varies, and that reflects his insecurity and emotional turmoil.
This is another club playing a prank.
The audio mixing makes it sound like an echo, like a distant memory.
I'd been accepted, and as part of my initiation, I had to, for 1 week, carry with me at all times and take care of.
So when we go on to a close-up of Eduardo, that's when he drops the bombshell, the main topic of this accusation.
A chicken.
I'm not the expert, but being connected to torturing animals is probably bad for business.
I did not torture the chicken.
The editing starts to loop time. It feels like Eduardo from the present is arguing with both Mark and the memory of him. We're not just moving through time, we're moving through emotion. That's why the transitions feel invisible but alive. It's emotional logic, not linear storytelling.
I don't torture chickens. Are you crazy?
No, and settle down.
When Eduardo explodes, we expect to stay on him, but we cut to Sai's reaction instead. Emotion doesn't live in the shout, it lives in the aftermath.
I have here an article from the Crimson.
It's almost like a narrative voiceover, but more organic.
956.
Dustin's outbursts, they provide moments of spontaneous energy. It's a comedic counterpoint to the drama, and it's also a bit like percussion to the music.
I was having dinner in the Kirkland dining hall with Mark.
This is an instinctive cut. When one points at somebody on the other side of the table, it's our human inclination to turn and see the reaction of the person being gestured at.
I had to have the chicken with me at all times. This was college.
Somebody's gonna have to answer for this.
969.
You probably noticed the cuts, they become quicker between the depositions and the flashbacks. It mirrors the escalating tension. We want to get to the punchline of Eduardo's story.
And the dining hall was serving chicken for dinner, I had to feed my chicken. So I took little pieces of chicken and I gave it to the chicken.
All right, Eduardo just got to the punchline and we naturally want to check the opposition's reaction.
Someone must have seen me because the next thing I knew I was being accused of forced cannibalism. I didn't know you couldn't do that. I dealt with the various animal rights groups.
So we're on a single shot on Marilyn because she's the only one that has reacted to Eduardo's story. And it's interesting that the editors chose the shots that are typically for the psychological battle, and it's between Marilyn and Eduardo. Even though Eduardo is speaking to Sai, it looks like he's speaking to Marilyn, as if he's taken her reaction personally.
988.
Someone from the pork or the fly.
So Dustin is continuing this staccato rhythm in the sequence. We focus on Mark while Eduardo is speaking to him. He's preoccupied, he's already moving on.
What is happening on
I
that?
have my final coming up for post-war and contemporary art.
And then we cut to what Mark is focusing on, which is the Facebook. He is completely immersed in his digital world. My gosh, the interface is just giving me so much nostalgia.
And I haven't been to class. I'm supposed to write about these 4 paintings.
That's a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Oh, well, now we're on to a close-up on Eduardo. This is a power move. It shows a moment of realization. He understands now that Mark cares less about authentic human connection and more about the virtual one that he has created. It's kind of a sad moment.
Mr. Zuckerberg was cheating on his final exam?
So now we're on to a medium close-up on Gretchen. She's launching her attack.
I'd rather not answer that, Gretchen.
So even though Eduardo's speaking, we're focusing on the reactions of Mark and his team. Mark is pretty much just looking to Sai like, bit of help here. And Sai is just sneering. He's like, is that the best you got?
And why not?
Because I'm not suing him for cheating on his final exam.
Even though Eduardo is responding to Gretchen's question, he's not really speaking to her. He's directly talking to Mark and Sai. He's still trying to connect to them, seeking validation.
That's not what friends do.
Well, this is a fascinating choice. So we get a close-up of Sai and Mark, but Sai is the one in focus, not Mark. This isn't just a technical choice, it's a narrative one. Sai is moved by Eduardo's words, while Mark remains out of focus, disconnected, unsentimental. The editing itself, it highlights the film's central theme of disconnection, even when the script doesn't explicitly state it.
Well, you just told us he was cheating.
Oops.
Finally, we get a shot of Mark in focus, and that's because Eduardo did something that caught his attention. He switches on like a computer booting up. We stay on the close-ups as Eduardo seizes the moment. He reaches over to Mark in a private tone. He's trying to break through this legal barrier and speak to Mark as a friend. But before Mark can respond, we abruptly cut to Sai as he takes over and puts himself in the spotlight as Mark's knight. And then we get a reaction shot from Eduardo. He's defeated.
Oops.
This makes me laugh every time. It's so perfectly written. He had to take that victory.
993. We are so close.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. We're gonna need more money, Eduardo.
We cut to Eduardo before Mark finishes his line. If we didn't, then we wouldn't see Eduardo deep in this inner turmoil.
Yeah, no, I agree. More servers, more help.
I'm interviewing 2 interns to come to Palo Alto, and we're gonna have to pay them something.
Sorry, what?
The theme of breaching trust is visually reinforced in the over-the-shoulder shot.
When did you decide to go to California for the summer?
You mean when did I actually decide?
Somewhere in the middle of the Sean Parker Variety Hour?
And then when we get to the close-up on Eduardo, it highlights his personal stake, his fears that Sean Parker is sinking his claws deeper into the business. So the scene shifts as Eduardo tries to physically distance himself. It's to give us a bit of space, get a sense of the room's geography. We can see Dustin is almost in his own compartment. He's separate from the escalating drama. And Mark closes the distance and keeps that same power imbalance by standing and looking down at Eduardo.
He doesn't bring anything to the table.
And we're getting closer to Eduardo, emphasizing his insecurity.
He doesn't have money. Dustin's a better programmer.
He's got connections to VCs.
We get to the wide shot to show that Dustin is now getting involved in the conversation. And then we get a flurry of rapid medium shots as Eduardo and Mark argue.
Wait, it was the Winklevoss's, Mark. Hang on. Hit refresh.
The wide shot is an abrupt disconnection from the argument. Mark has cut it off and he has shifted his priorities. And then the legendary chicken close-up. This off-kilter shot, it focuses on something completely random amidst the tension. It injects a dose of quirky humour. It's unexpected, it's ironic, and makes Eduardo's stress in the background even funnier in contrast to the calm chicken.
150,000 members, Eduardo.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You don't think it was strange?
Wide shots usually represent a transition in the scene or a disconnection from the drama. Mark is trying to disconnect from Eduardo, like he thinks the conversation is over, but Eduardo pulls him back in the fray and we have the series of medium shots again. And the intensity builds as we get a closer shot on Eduardo and Mark, and then we get a sudden pullback to a medium shot as Eduardo explodes. It's almost like we're recoiling from Eduardo's explosion, but in a static way because Fincher doesn't like handheld shots.
Read about it.
And I can read about you torturing birds. Since when does reading about something...
fish! Eat other fish! The marlins and the trout!
And we cut to a wide shot as Mark and Dustin process this outburst.
What's he talking about?
I'm interviewing interns at 10 tomorrow night in the CS lab. Get on board with this, man. You know, I don't really know what else to say.
You can see he's in a losing battle. He can only watch as Mark dismisses him and walks away from the whole conversation. And finally we get the chicken again. It's a bookend to the chapter. It eases the tension once more and serves as a witty, ironic symbol of the entire fiasco. So, what do we learn from this masterclass in editing? A few key techniques stand out. non-linear storytelling. The seamless weave between deposition and flashback isn't just style, it's structure. It builds tension, reveals character, and keeps the story alive. You don't feel the jumps, you just feel the flow. Audio transitions, J-cuts and L-cuts. These aren't just technical tricks, they're emotional bridges that make the past bleed into the present, keeping the story fluid and connected. Framing and composition. Every shot is psychology in motion. Eduardo framed in conflict, Mark framed in control. The edit shapes power, distance, and emotion with surgical precision. Pacing and rhythm. Fast cuts spark tension, slow beats, let it breathe. Don't chase pace, chase rhythm. Close-ups and reactions. The edit lives in the silences, the flickers of thought, the unspoken betrayals. Humour and release. The chicken shots and Dustin's outbursts aren't just comic relief, they're tension valves that keep the sequence human. So there you have it. This scene is proof that editing isn't just invisible craft, it's character, rhythm, and manipulation rolled into one. The depositions are the spine of the film. Fincher's team cut emotionally, not chronologically.
Everything that we did in post is really in service of the story and to sort of disappear into the story and make any sort of artifice disappear as a result.
And that's what makes this film timeless. So, what other films do you think nailed their editing like this? Drop them in the comments, I like to know. And if you like this breakdown, hit the like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and click on that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.